Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about our next upcoming major winter storm, and this one looks to bring some ice as well as some major snowfall alongside some severe weather as well. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. I'd also ask that you check out our very exciting store in the description and the pinned comment down below, and then our awesome Patreon page as well. We're actually going to be making an update for that snowstorm that's going to be occurring throughout the day today. So if you want the latest information on that one, I highly recommend you check it out. That's going to be in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you think this will be mostly a snowstorm or mainly an ice storm? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a little bit of a look at the simulated radar here for that first storm that's occurring today through into the next couple of days, that one we've been talking about for a week or so. And look, this one I'm going to be bringing an update, like I said, for the total snowfall for this one on my Patreon page. But for now, we can see that there is snow expected for Nebraska, the Dakotas, and that eventually moves into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan as well, with some ice on the southern end there. And then by the time we reach about 12 p.m. on the 30th, which is tomorrow, it basically moves out. Now let's zoom in and take a look at the beginning of our storm we're actually going to be talking about in this video, and this is by about 1 a.m. on Thursday, December 31st, and as you can see, we start to see some moderate to heavy snowfall developing there for western Texas, some heavy rainfall for eastern Texas there, and even some ice developing for Arkansas and Missouri there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on in just a moment, and we're going to take a look at about 7 p.m. there on New Year's Eve, the 31st. We're going to start to see a lot more snow around, a lot more freezing rain, and overall just a much more major storm. Now here we are by about 6 or 7 p.m. here on Thursday, December 31st. And as you can see, we have some heavy snowfall going on there for, I would say, central Texas actually. And as you can see, we have plenty of ice going on as well around the area. This is a 994 millibar low pressure center, so this is actually quite a strong low pressure center as well. Look at all that precipitation to the east of it for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas. That's actually where I expect severe weather to set up potentially. Here's our CAPE, so you can see we actually have some pretty decent amounts of CAPE, or convective available potential energy, and this is basically just a measurement of how much fuel is available for thunderstorms to develop. And anything over 1,000 is generally considered pretty good, and in that green we do have a pretty good amount of CAPE there, so I do expect some thunderstorms to be in the area. Again, likely severe storms as well there for Louisiana and Mississippi. We will take a little bit of a look at that at the end of the video. Here's the shear quickly as well, which is needed for tornadoes and wind threats, and we definitely have plenty of that. Just like we had on Christmas Eve, there is plenty of shear available this day, and also some slight potential at a tornado outbreak because of this. Anytime you see this type of a setup, you kind of want to pay more attention when you have that very high shear. So over the coming days, I will keep you guys updated on the development of that severe weather event. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to just continue on with that snow and ice storm, that major snow and ice storm actually. Alright, now here we are by about 6 or 7 p.m. on January 1st, 2021. And as you can see, we have some moderate to heavy snowfall there on the southern extent of the western edge of that storm. So for Oklahoma, Texas, and then those pinks are indicating very heavy freezing rain coming down. Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana. And if it plays out like this model is thinking, this would absolutely be a crippling ice storm. I just want to let you guys know all three of our major models right now have at least 1 inch of freezing rain for many regions, which is absolutely just crippling. We would see major damage because of that. Some even trend towards 1.5 or even 2 inches of ice for some pretty widespread regions. Very, very concerning setup we have here. Again, I'm going to be tracking this over the coming, I would say, few days until this occurs. So rest assured, you will be receiving updates from us for that. Let's move a little further east, and let's move towards about 1 p.m. here on January 1st. And as you can see, we have, again, still just some major ice coming down for portions of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, but especially Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. And that does include Chicago, actually, might I add. So we're also seeing some ice develop there for Pennsylvania right now. So we're going to see some for the Northeast as well, potentially upwards of 1/2 inch to 1 inch if this model is correct. They could be overdoing it. They could be underdoing it. It's really hard to say, and I'm going to continue to track this one with you guys. Our severe weather is down there for the Southeast by this point. And eventually, by the time we reach maybe about 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. here on Friday, January 1st, you can see that all moves a little further north. We see ice still coming down for the Northeast. And actually, a lot of those areas up there for the upper Midwest, the plains, and the Great Lakes switch over to snow by this point. So you might see the freezing rain and then the snow coming down afterwards, which would be very, very interesting. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on towards the very tail end of this storm on this model, and then we're just going to move on to our GFS model, and then we're going to start taking a look at the total snowfall and the total freezing rain according to all of these models, and at the very end, we will take a little bit of a look at that severe weather that we're expecting with this storm as well, all coming up in just a moment. All right, now here we are taking a look at the very tail end of that storm. This is by Saturday, January 2nd, at maybe about 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. here. And as you can see, we have a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow coming down at the very tail end of that storm. But for the most part, it's all said and done. Let's move on and take a look if there's any differences here on our GFS model. As you can see, this is by about maybe 1 p.m., maybe 12 p.m. there on Thursday, December 31st. And our low pressure center is generally in pretty much the same location. Same story with the freezing rain, the snow as well. And by the time we reach maybe about 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. here on Friday, January 1st, you can see that we see that low pressure center move up into the corners of Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. We have some snow, we have some ice, generally looking very, very similar. And by the time we reach about 1 a.m. here on Saturday, January 2nd, it actually is a bit further north than what the European model has. We have more ice going on for the Northeast, but generally less snow and less ice for the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. So there is some differences, but generally the theme of the storm all stays the same according to all of these models. There will be ice, there will be snow, there will be severe weather. That's what they all agree on, and that's definitely just really bad news, obviously, for all of these regions impacted. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at that total snowfall, the total freezing rain, and then at the very end, we're going to give you guys a bit of an update on that severe weather threat according to the Storm Prediction Center, all coming up in just a moment. All right, now here's the total snowfall according to the European model, and don't worry, this excludes the snowfall from that first snowstorm, so this is only the one we've been talking about in this video. If you're in the gray, you're expecting a dusting if anything. If you're in the light blues, you're at about 2 to 6 inches. If you're in the purple, you're at about 6 to 10 inches. And if you're in those pinks, which I do see a lot of that there for Texas and Oklahoma, that might be a little bit overdone because of the fact we're going to have some mixing in the area. But this model does say 10 to 20 inches of snow. I think you're looking more at about 6 to 8 being possible for that region. I think that's a bit overblown there for that region. But here is the total freezing rain expected, first off for the central United States. And according to this model, as you can see, we see many regions about a quarter to half inch there, including central Texas, central Oklahoma, and up through portions of eastern Kansas, as well as northern Arkansas. It's as you get towards northern Missouri and southern Iowa that we take a look at about an inch to an inch and a half of freezing rain there in those kind of deep magenta colors, I guess you could call it, or dark pinks, if that's a thing. And then we see some of that going on also for Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio as well. So this is a very widespread freezing rain event if it does occur that way. And then here's for the east. You can see about a quarter to maybe half an inch of freezing rain down there for Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And then for New England, same story pretty much. Here's the total snowfall according to that GFS model, and I agree a lot more with this one. You can see it doesn't have those bright pinks down there for Texas. A lot more realistic here. Also New England, taking a look at potentially 2 to 6 inches, and then some purples there for the White Mountains and also the Adirondacks potentially as well. Here's the total freezing rain, and it kept pretty much the Texas and plains amounts about the same, so I didn't update that, but we can see for the Northeast, this one actually has a lot closer to half an inch for a lot of the northeastern regions. Missouri and Iowa, it has you guys closer to maybe 3/4 of an inch, not quite an inch. Still would be a very major freezing rain event. And then last, but certainly not least with the freezing rain outlook here, the Canadian model says, well, you guys could expect well over an inch of freezing rain, potentially an inch and a half of freezing rain there for portions of Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Illinois, Kansas, Oklahoma, maybe even approaching 3/4 of an inch, if not an inch for Texas. So this model, the Canadian model, has a much bigger freezing rain event here, a very major one at that. And even for the east here, you can see it has well over half an inch there, 0.63 inches there for near Binghamton, New York, the area that got like 40 inches of snow just a couple of weeks ago, about half an inch throughout Pennsylvania, West Virginia. So this would be very bad news. This would be very bad news because freezing rain just causes problems in general. So I will be watching this, but I am taking a look at the threat for a major crippling ice storm coming up in just a few days. Now, quickly for that severe weather update, here's our day 3 outlook, which is going to be from Thursday morning and through Friday morning here, so about 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. As you can see, we have a slight threat of severe weather at this point for Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and a bit of the Florida Panhandle as well. So this would obviously be a slight severe weather threat. There is some room for an enhanced risk to go up there. We do have a bit more cape and a bit more shear than we had just about a week ago. So I do think that this could be a bigger threat than that one was. We do have a marginal risk in that dark green, which means there could be some severe weather. And then in the light green, a general thunderstorm risk, which means there is a good chance at some thunderstorms, but a pretty limited chance at severe weather. But there still could be, so be on the lookout for that. And then for day 4, which they don't really release the same maps, but they do have that 15% chance at severe weather set up for Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So they do think that there could be a slight risk for there on day 4, which would be Friday morning through Saturday morning. So January 1st through January 2nd. We will be watching for that threat as well. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, this is for the first snowstorm. I don't want to confuse you guys, but Anastasia Joy said, overall looks like Wisconsin will get the most snow. I asked you guys which state will get the most snowfall, and I do agree that Wisconsin looks to get the most with this storm. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons: Sebastian Towell, John Bembenek, Justin Quantrill, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry LePan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aidan Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Alan Cherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, and Mark J. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you would like to be on this Patreon end screen, you can do so by joining our very awesome Patreon page in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.